Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do. Today, Noah, we are talking about Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
That's right. If you know anything about Hellblade, you know that it's that weird game about that island chick, basically, right? And that's how it was introduced to me. I saw a very confusing trailer for it, and still with the sequel, all their trailers are really confusing and like horror themed, kind of just disturbing, really. And that's kind of like the theme in the whole game is it always just feels like uneasy, disturbing, kind of like when you're I wanted to say Resident Evil, but it's not as like scary. And that has a lot to do with the game's excellent story. The mythology, the story, the light combat, it's all so fun.
Yeah, no, I actually I knew nothing about it going in. I just remember like I saw it like a I guess like a screenshot of like the kind of like I guess I don't know what you would call it because as far as I'm aware at the time the game had not had a physical release, but like the kind of case cover image of it. And all I knew was that people loved it. Like absolutely loved it. And we wanted to get it for a long time, but I'm pretty sure it was $40 on a PlayStation Store, which for a indie game never heard of before, never heard of the developers before, we were like, not wanting to get it. And for a long time, we were just waiting for it to go on sale. And then finally, at one point, I think it went on sale for like $30. And that was just enough where we were like, all right, get it, get it. We're done waiting, get it now. And we did, and we both played through it. And I mean, yeah, that's the rest is history. Now we're talking about it. Yeah, let's just get into it, I guess. No, I don't know if you had anything to add.
No, nothing to add.
Yeah, really short intro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was trying to think like maybe we should like map out an intro because I was like, what do we usually talk about? Like how we found the game,
Well,
who made
typically,
it? Like sometimes we mention who made it,
yeah,
and
this one was like Ninja Theory.
was it Ninja Theory?
Yeah. Well, I know
Yeah.
because typically we talk about it and then we go off on some sort of tangent and end up talking about things that have nothing to do with the game. And then we like, okay, anyway, we're talking about this game. Let's get into it.
What is the mythology that this is based on?
Norse mythology.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
Oh,
realize there was
duh.
any confusion about that.
Is it Surtur?
Cert.
There's not an R after?
There is, but it's not pronounced.
Are you sure?
Yes. I know because this game is what taught me that there it's not pronounced. Because in the game, they
Then I
just
was
refer
trying to
to him
type
as
into your
Cert.
tabs.
Why? What are you trying to
I
do?
was gonna search if Surtur was pronounced with a E like ER or not. But anyway.
Mm,
Yeah, I forgot that. It was Norse.
yeah. Yeah.
Because the two other gods, I had no idea who they were. Or not gods, but whatever they are.
I mean, I knew who they. Well, I knew Cert, and obviously like Hela or Hell. I think if she's called in this. No, I think she's called Hela in this game.
I think it's hell.
Yeah, we'll find out, I guess, when we get into the story. But yeah, I guess also just to go more in our intro is the I know I had no idea this game was about Norse mythology either until you started it because you played it before I did and you told me about it, which instantly did kind of pick up my interest on it because after playing God of War, my interest in Norse mythology was there. So just knowing, oh, it's a Norse mythology game, really piqued my interest as well.
That's fair, but long before we ever played God of War, we were still huge fans of ancient mythology.
That is correct. I would say it was Percy Jackson that really started that.
That's right. If you didn't know, the Super Gamer Bros are part of the Percy Jackson kids.
Yeah, I'd say like Rick Riordan, the author, he got us into both, I would say, Greek and Egyptian mythology because he had the Egyptian mythology series as well.
I agree.
But Norse mythology was never a part of that. Like we always knew about it, obviously Thor being a popular Marvel character, we always had basic knowledge about it. And then God of War, obviously being placed in Norse mythology, very much increased my interest. But also, much like with Greek mythology, I knew that God of War probably played very loose with the source material. Which there's no problem with that. Just obviously, someone who played God of War, I don't think could be called a Norse mythology expert because it's very fast and loose.
Right. I think we can agree that Marvel and God of War have their own unique takes on Norse mythology, and then Hellblade stands completely apart from both of those.
No, you're correct. I imagine, really having done no such research, that Hellblade plays a lot more true to the traditional Norse mythology, which I mean is fine. I love it. Any game, like if you are making a game and you want the Super Gamer Bros to play it, just throw in some mythology in there and that'll instantly get us.
True. I
Yeah.
mean, I'll never be satisfied with mythology-based games.
Yeah.
We've never, I mean, Smite is about the closest we've ever come to actually being a god in a game.
I
I
mean,
think it's like the goal,
well, I
right?
mean, in God of War, you play as a god of war,
Yeah, but I mean, like being a
like an
a god,
actually
a god
from
that already
mythology.
exists. Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah, I would say Smite. But anyway, see, this is our typical intro. We're not talking about Smite. We're
If
talking about
we're ever writing a game, we should write a mythology-based fighting game.
yeah, yeah, sure. Anyway, today, so let's get into Hellblade. See, we have to go on our tangents and then get back to it. I think that's people expect that from us now. So kind of the background um of the game. The game tells the story of Senua, and really very heavily features on her struggle with psychosis, a mental disorder, as she suffers from the condition, but she believes it to be a curse. Kind of like a long time ago, science not really a thing, so lead to kind of magic as explanation for things. She believes it's a curse placed on her, and she is haunted by an entity known as the Darkness, voices in her head that are known as Furies, and just memories from her past. I just want to say I absolutely love the way the game portrays her psychosis, her mental issues. I think it is awesome. I did read in my research that the game developers actually consulted with neuroscientists and specialists to make the portrayal of psychosis as realistic as possible, which is awesome. Having a protagonist with a serious mental health issues, it's not something you really see often in games. And I thought that was something that going in when I first started really pulled me in as well.
No, this is an excellent dynamic. I mean, the narrative here is so interesting to unravel because nothing is explained from the start. So you just go through this experience and you just realize over time that some of these things aren't really happening and it's all in her head. So I agree with you. They do a wonderful job of telling that story of mental health. I'm going to go one step further and say that they do a great job of explaining how someone can experience something they believe to be their mythological gods, and
Yeah,
that's how people in these times will have these experience claiming to meet these gods.
yeah, I get what you're saying. I think I agree with you. I think yeah, it does a great job of not only portraying a mental illness, but portraying it in a way that makes sense in this world of medieval esque time period.
Exactly.
So the way kind of the map, the actual setting of the game works, it has a very linear story. And in each kind of area you're in, there's a small amount of exploration here. Like it's sort of like less open than God of War. Really, I guess you could best compare it to the original God of War series at the top of my head in terms of exploration of you're in this open area where you can explore to find collectibles and solve puzzles, but it is a small area, and typically you're kind of like in a room to explore, and then there's a door where you came from and the door where you go to. Simple. And it does take place kind of in the entrance areas of Helheim, which is the Norse depiction of the afterlife. That is her whole purpose of this game is entering Helheim, entering the afterlife to bring back the soul of someone she lost.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it's limited. It is an indie game.
Mhm.
So I don't expect a AAA open world, multiple god split into quadrants. I don't expect that kind of deal, and I don't need that.
Oh no, I mean I have no issues with the way it is. I'm just, explaining it, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, but I mean, usually to me, a game being very linear, very tight is kind of a takeaway.
I think it depends on what I'm looking for, really. Like so one thing, with Hellblade, it is a short game. I think total for me it took maybe like 6, 7 hours to complete. But considering that this is the first game I played after I did the 106-hour journey to Platinum Death Stranding, I loved how short it was. I
That's
loved how
fair.
concise it was. Yeah, I was like, man, I got this awesome experience, this awesome story, and I did it in 2 sittings, and it was great. Anyway, so let's talk about the story. So, set in the late 8th century, the game starts with Senua, a Pict warrior from Orkney, arriving at the border of Helheim in a quest to save the soul of her dead lover, Dillion. I love the name Dillion.
It is Hela. And yes, I also love the name Dillion.
Oh, save.
And
Let me just save her lover Dillion from the goddess Hela. I like the name Dillion is said so many times in the game, and I just thought it was such a cool name.
it's a cool name. Um, but like the emotion that the actress portrays every time she's calling his name,
Yeah,
the
no, it's
voice acting in this game,
yeah, very
I think
wonderfully
that's really what
performed.
makes it. Yeah.
Yeah, very wonderfully performed. Anyway, Senua believes she suffers from a curse that causes her to hear the voices of spirits referred to as Furies in her head. The most notable of which is the narrator, who is aware of the player's presence and often breaks the fourth wall by talking to them directly. She is followed by the darkness, a dark entity at the core of the curse. She carries Dillion's severed head to use it as a vessel for his soul and is guided by her memories of the stories of Druth, a former slave of the Norsemen, well versed in their legends, now deceased, who became her friend and mentor during a year-long self-imposed exile. I also really liked, kind of pausing here, how this is a Norse mythology game from the perspective of someone who was not Norse. Like she, has like a second-hand retelling of all of their stories, and doesn't have experience with it. But I thought it was really cool how, this is like a Viking based game where you're not playing as the Vikings. You're playing as someone who basically was like a victim of their raids.
Oh, was that how Dillion died?
Yeah, like Senua and Dillion were not Vikings. They were like people who lived south of the Vikings because often in Druth's stories that you hear, he refers to them as like the Northmen or the men from the north, something like that. Which implied to me they were from the north. And like, yeah, I just thought that was really cool that like they did a game that was about Vikings in a way, about Helheim, which was their version of the afterlife, and you weren't actually playing as them. You were playing as someone who was like, hey, like those barbaric giant men from the north, like that pillage and kill and stuff. I just thought it was very cool, kind of being like a Viking adjacent person.
I actually never even caught that. I thought she was a Viking this whole time.
No, no, she was not. And again, that was just something I really enjoyed. Anyway,
Very good note.
yes. So to enter Helheim, Senua overcomes several tests and defeats both the fire giant Surt and the god of illusions Valravan. But as she crosses the bridge to Helheim, she is attacked by Hela, who defeats her with a single blow and shatters her sword. Barely surviving the encounter, Senua contemplates suicide, but instead scars herself with her broken blade. She then follows visions of Druth in a man-shaped light she believes to be Dillion to a great tree where she undergoes 4 trials that test her body, spirit, and mind, and is rewarded with the legendary sword Grommer, a weapon powerful enough to kill Hela. I really a testament to the just speaking on her contemplating suicide thing, just a testament to I think the writing and the performance is just how clear her absolute anguish is at Dillion's death. And yeah, I mean, it's just like I don't think I'd ever really felt before playing this how palpable her grief and misery is at his death.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah. I don't know. I just remember, like, I just feel like, in my experience, I feel like I'd never played a game that had portrayed it so realistically, I guess.
Oh no, it's definitely very well done. And like I said, I think 100% of the credit goes to the voice acting, right?
A very large part, I would say, yes. Anyway, as the game progresses, Senua's backstory is unveiled in non-linear order through her hallucinations, revealing that her mother, the healer Galena, suffered from the same curse that Senua did, but Galena thought of it as a gift. However, Senua's devoutly religious father, Zinbel, thought otherwise and burned Galena alive. Senua witnessed the event when she was just 5 years old, which caused her psychosis to worsen significantly and caused her to block out the memory. Her father, convincing her that she was tainted with evil, abused Senua emotionally and physically and isolated her from the rest of the world until she met Dillion when he visited her village. The two fell in love, and Senua left her father to be with him, as he saw her as different and misunderstood instead of cursed. However, after a plague killed many of Dillion's village, Senua, believing the fault to be hers, left in exile. When she returned a year later, after seemingly conquering the darkness, she found everyone killed by Norsemen raiders, who had sacrificed Dillion in a blood eagle to their gods. Remembering the stories of Druth, Senua then swore to save Dillion's soul from the gods of the Norsemen.
That's crazy. She's kind of like Kratos.
In a way, yeah, I guess.
You know, she wants something from the gods and she'll kill every god in her way.
Yeah, I guess that is, yeah, I guess.
That being said, I thought about your argument earlier, and yes, Kratos is technically a god through the entire series, kind of, but narratively, throughout most of the original God of Wars, he was mortal, and you never actually play as him except for that one level where he is on the throne of Olympus.
You talking about like in God of War 2 when you start out as a god but then lose your godly
Exactly,
powers?
yeah.
I'll go ahead and even further your point of I bet to you that during the original God of War he was not Zeus's son, and that was not something that they came up with until later.
Well, yeah, duh, they put it in one of the side games. But I read that, or I was like watching a video that was like a recap of God of War story up until Ragnarok, and they were like, Zeus or Kratos has been the son of Zeus this whole time, and I'm like, well, no, not really. That was
Yeah.
decided later.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those
Originally, he
things
was just
that,
a mortal who was given godly powers.
yeah, pretty much.
So basically, Senua is similar,
Uh,
but she gets weapons.
yes. So ultimately, Senua fights against the influence of the darkness, surviving the Sea of Corpses and defeating the beast Garm at the gates of Helheim. When she realizes that the darkness is a representation of her father's abuse and temporarily imprisons the Furies in a magic mirror. Oh, I added a word in there that shouldn't be. She realizes that the darkness is a representation of her father's abuse and temporarily imprisons the Furies in a magic mirror. She then confronts Hela, who summons a legion of undead warriors. Senua fights them until she is finally overwhelmed and tries to bargain with Hela. In her final moments, she recalls Dillion telling her the importance of accepting loss. As the imagery of Helheim fades away, Hela stabs Senua with Grommer and drops Dillion's head into the abyss. But as the camera returns to her, Senua is standing in her place, with a dead Hela at her feet, having accepted that it was never possible to bring her lover back and that she is not responsible for his death or anyone else's. Senua finally banishes the darkness from her soul and accepts the Furies not as a curse, but a part of who she is. She invites the player to follow her, saying that there is another story to tell. Yeah, so really, really cool how this game, in part with the whole psychosis thing, is like the entire game is well, this could literally be what happened, or this could all be in her head. And even at the end here, it's like, kind of not never confirms which one to be true.
I would just call it very confusing for the most part. And that's obviously on purpose, like you said. And I buy into that. I like that. I did not understand that she was letting go of him and that we weren't going to be chasing him anymore. I thought that I don't know. I thought he was going to come back and that was going to be the drive of the second game also.
No, it's funny because it's funny to say, I feel like, but the game is really very grounded in realism with, the Vikings and her psychosis and kind of I feel like with the exception of the fact that she's going into Helheim and fighting gods and stuff, the game is very kind of realistic when it comes to the people and the stories. So it's certainly like it makes sense. Like I played through the game thinking that it was literal and it was all real, but kind of having that, oh, it could all be in her head thing. And when she loses Dillion's head, it's like, oh, okay, I guess it all is in her head. It kind of makes sense.
I prefer it when it's actually involved in the mythology.
Like when it's literal. No, I get that. I get that. But again, I mean, I think the game and the story, the ending, is done in a way that you can really interpret it either way. Um, in terms of it being real or it being all in her head. And I don't think.
Well, I'm going to go on Wikipedia and change that later.
Oh, okay. Anyway, that's the story. It's a really good story. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't know. It's a good story. I really enjoyed it. I guess I am with you where like when I finished it, I was like, oh, okay. Like I was kind of hoping it to be literal and not all in her head. But at the same time, like I think it's a cool choice to make.
Right, no, the story is absolutely fantastic. It's very well written. Like you said, it's extremely realistic and it has a lot of great Norse mythology in it. That was what really brought me in about the game.
Mm.
And I actually played through the entire game with headphones on. I wanted the complete experience because you hear throughout the whole game, you hear all the voices in Senua's head. I don't even know, it's just such a unique experience.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like you said, I've never played a game that gave me that sort of experience before.
mhm. So,
Yeah, the game, like we said, it is an indie game. It does have uh it's a little minimal in terms of gameplay in my opinion. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is divided into two types of gameplay. The first allows Senua to walk freely and interact with her surroundings. Those parts of the game focus on like story via voiceover as Senua travels from one location to another, or something like the resolution of a puzzle or a challenge of some kind to progress further in the story. She can use a capacity known as focus in reference to her tendency to see things differently from other people due to her condition. And that's basically like a detective vision type thing that like uh, highlights and helps hint and trigger puzzle related events.
yeah,
The
pretty much.
other side of gameplay, or did you want to talk about that side of gameplay? There's really not much there, but
What, the puzzle solving?
yeah, the walking, puzzle
Yeah,
solving.
I mean it's like I explained earlier. It's you have these kind of open areas. You walk around looking for collectibles or solving puzzles, and I mean that's really it. I think the game has several interesting puzzles. I did really like the puzzle solving aspect of Hellblade.
Can you give an example of a good puzzle?
No,
Okay, sorry. Didn't want to put you on the spot.
yeah, well, for example, I think it plays into focus, but there are like these gates. I don't know. I don't know if gate is the right word. It's kind of like an arch, I guess. An opening. I don't know. That are kind of standing where, like, if you look through it, one way, it changes the environment you're looking at. Like maybe changing from day to night. It might be raining in one. Like for example, specifically I can remember one point where like there is like a path that is blocked because there's like rubble that's on fire, and when you look through this gate in this kind of alternate universe, it's really kind of I think best explained as like alternate worlds, I guess. I don't know. But in this alternate world, it's raining and the rain has put out that fire. So you then walk through the gate and you're in that alternate world. And say, you get through and you're in this world where it's raining, so now you can walk in this path. But then it's like, oh, this bridge is out. You have to find another gate to walk through, to where, you're in another world where, oh, that stuff is on fire again, so you can't go back, but the bridge is back up. So, it's a lot of, I guess, like, that's kind of perspective puzzles in a way. I don't know how they would be described in
If I
terms like
had to
that.
guess, I would say that they would call them different realms, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because it's north.
Yeah, no, they would use the word
Uh,
realms there.
exactly. And no, I was gonna say you're right. I forgot about these little puzzles and they were minimal, but I actually enjoyed them because in other parts of the game, you're mostly just terrified while you're progressing. You're afraid of the gods. They like talk about how scary they are, and all the voices in Senua's head are like always talking about how she's gonna lose, she's gonna fail, and they're always, they're her demons.
Mm-hmm.
And they're your demons in that way. It's very tormenting.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the puzzle solving is really good. It was one of those things that when I first encountered, I was like, oh, okay, it's like this type of game. But I really enjoyed them. I thought they were cool. Anyway, Noah, why don't you tell us about your favorite aspect of the game?
Right. So my favorite aspect of every game is the combat. That's not true. It always depends. But the combat in Hellblade features fights against malformed representations of Norsemen who block her progression, including the occasional boss. During those fights, Senua has her sword drawn out and is turned towards one of her enemies, on which the camera is automatically focused. Okay, you can't look away, and you're in like a slow state of movement.
Yeah, it's basically like an automatic like lock on
Yeah, it's
that
like
you
going into
can.
fight mode.
Yeah, and you can switch. One thing that Hellblade does, not a lot of games do. Well, I wouldn't say that. There are some games that don't do it for some reason, but it is very easy, I think, just like a flick of the right stick to switch who you're locking on. And some games don't do that, which is stupid. And that's just
I
my two
agree.
cents.
A good lock on is crucial,
Mm-hmm.
as well as a button to quick turnaround, a snap 180.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Anywho, where was I?
Yeah, so just go ahead with the she can use two kinds of attacks again. Noah?
I'm sorry, my blind cat. Did I tell you I have a blind cat?
Oh, I remember you were getting that cat. I forgot you got the
Yeah,
cat.
I got him.
Oh, that's nice.
He is so cute,
Yeah.
but he's always up in my face. So when she's in this attack stance, she has two kinds of attacks, a quick attack and a heavy attack. Basically, the quick attack does less damage, and the heavy attack is just slow as hell. So she can also kick an enemy to prevent it from blocking her attacks. There is also a parry in this game. I love a good parry. You block at the moment an enemy attacks, and the enemy is staggered, and you get a counterattack of sorts. And then finally, she can dodge. She can also charge the opponent she is focusing on to either get closer or directly attack or kick. So just straight up run towards whoever she's locked on. If she parries or dodges enough, she can use her focus ability in battle to move faster than her enemies or dissipate the shadows some of them are made of, which makes them impervious to regular attacks. Uh, Basically, that means armored enemies. So once she obtains Grommer, which is the sword, Senua can charge her heavy attack for additional damage and parries more efficiently. Basically, the window of the parry is increased. So being able to do additional damage and parry more efficiently, both allow Senua to use her focus ability. If Senua suffers a strong hit or several hits in a row, she falls to the ground. Okay, so the player character gets staggered and Senua falls. The player must then press the corresponding button repeatedly as fast as possible before an enemy deals a fatal blow. If she does not get back up in time, she dies. The closer she is to death, the more difficult it is to get back up. She can also die from a regular hit if she was already very close to death. So you basically don't even get a second chance to try to stand up at that point.
I really like that second chance system. The getting knocked down, mash buttons to get back up. I really like that. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I
Um,
mean, a lot of the games I've been playing recently do have some sort of system where, you get back up.
yeah, I would say really, I struggled a lot with the combat in Hellblade. You didn't because you played this game not long after you had played Sekiro. So the whole parry counter thing you were super super good at by that point, and plus you've always been good at that. I have not. I think I'm definitely better now than I was when I played Hellblade because I've just played more games that have that aspect in it. But
That's so odd to me because that system to me it's like based on rhythm, and you are very into rhythm.
that is correct. But I just like getting the timing down was hard. I really struggled with combat in Hellblade sometimes because of that. I think actually even I might have lowered the difficulty to get through. I think I started on normal, but I switched to easy because I just could not get a handle on the timing for parrying.
I definitely think I might have had to lower the difficulty. Those bosses were hard.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it was just annoying. I wouldn't say annoying. It was just a real struggle for me to do. And yeah, because I remember you talking about it, and at one point, like we were having a conversation about the game, and you were like, "Yeah, man, like that parry stuff, like it's so easy. Like after playing Sekiro, like the parry window is so long in comparison. I just had no trouble with it, and I was just sitting there like, yeah,
Yeah, you like you said, you just haven't like played a lot of games that have those type of systems.
yeah."
I mean, think about how good you got at Arkham eventually.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, it
And
was.
that's just all it is. It's just dumping hours into practice
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
and learning enemy. You have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
spend a few lives to
Although
watch.
the game really, really got way easier after getting Grommer. Like that charged heavy attack is really, really good. Which I mean, it's a weapon that's supposed to be able to kill a god, so it makes sense that it be so powerful. But I absolutely loved how insanely powerful it felt. Like it really felt like it was worth it doing all the challenges to unlock the sword. Because it was really a really powerful weapon. Like certainly during that final battle against Hela's legions of dead, I felt like I was crushing it with that sword. I thought I felt super powerful, something that always really good when a game does.
Yeah, I was laughing when you said I was crushing it with that sword.
I was crushing it, man.
Right, right, I get you. Um,
um
the sword was not that noteworthy to me. I did not realize it was that powerful. I mean, obviously it was stronger, but not strong enough to like one hit anybody, so you're still having to deal with combat. But I also thought the sword looked cool.
yeah, at least it looked cool.
I mean, it's an important note. A good weapon has to look cool and be very effective.
I suppose so. Anyway, so then collectibles. We can talk about collectibles. The lore stones. By focusing on these kind of totems, you trigger a voiceover of Druth telling Senua the stories of Norse mythology. I'm pretty sure, like literally from the beginning all the way through Ragnarok. Like the last one is him going crazy talking about how the world's going to end. With Ragnarok.
Yeah, I actually really liked finding these.
Yeah, it was really cool. Really, really cool. Again, like just really feeding into that love for mythology we have of him telling the story. Like, because typically each like area you were in, all the lore stones would tell one long story from mythology, and yeah, it was just super interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was. You're definitely right. It was helped by our affection for mythology in
Yeah,
general. But still, I do love lore building collectibles and collectibles that aren't something that just takes up space for no reason.
yeah. No, I get you. I get you. Mm. And that's it for collectibles. That's the only one. Now we move on to our notable trophies section, and there are none. Hellblade only has 15 trophies, one of which is the platinum, 13 of which you get by playing through the story, and then the last one is just for getting all the lore stones. Yeah, very much you can tell Ninja Theory, I imagine people who don't really care about trophies and simply put them in there because they have to, and that's it.
Yeah, some developers are like that, and that's
Yep.
okay. It's a bummer, but it's
Yeah.
okay.
No, I mean it's fine. It's a great for your trophy collection because it has 9 gold trophies and 1 platinum. A lot of trophies, a lot of cool trophies. Anyway, so that moves us on to our questions. Favorite moments, Noah.
My favorite moments were the moments in between, basically like the boss battles, where the voices in Senua's head would be like talking to each other about her journey and, just different voices whispering, sometimes screaming, it just a very different experience. And I wish more games would do something like that.
Yeah, I get you. Mine, kind of two. One, yeah, as we've mentioned multiple times already, the mythology stuff. I love it. I loved learning about it. It was great. And then I completely agree with you with the psychosis. So Noah, I don't know about you. I do not play video games with headphones on. Like I feel like a large amount of gamers out there who they can't focus on a game without headphones on. They can't play them. Like they don't like playing them without headphones on because the audio and stuff. Like I can remember listening to a podcast a few years ago where a guy was talking about how because of his like he'd recently had a kid, and because of like the kid he wasn't playing video games as much, so like he was playing the same game over and over again because he's like, oh, like I can't play these games because I can't put headphones on, so I couldn't enjoy them as much because I have to be listening for the kid. And I remember listening to that thinking like, wow, I didn't realize that some people played any game with headphones on. Like typically the only time I have headphones on is when I'm playing with other people because we have to talk. So yeah, I don't play games with headphones on. This game, and I've seen it I think in multiple games where before the game starts, there's like a little notice that pops up like, hey, we strongly recommend you play this game with headphones on. And I ignore it every time. But with Hellblade, I think it coincided with the fact that I had just recently bought a new pair of headphones, and I was like wanting to use them, but it popped up, and I was like, okay, I'll play this game with headphones on. Hellblade, like I'll give you that. And man, it really takes the whole psychosis thing to the next level because, as you said, the voices in your head, they're in your head when you're wearing headphones, and with the whole stereo thing, they'll come at you from different directions and stuff, which is not something that you would get without headphones on. So it's like, yeah, it was just awesome kind of having all the different voices talking all around you. And it's, as you said, they're kind of like having conversations with each other, both putting Senua down because, kind of just reflecting her lack in confidence in herself. And at the same time, talking amongst themselves and kind of having like different voices have different opinions, almost completely different personalities in her head. Just so cool and so well done. As you said, very unique experience. Like there's a really funny moment, I forget exactly when it is, where like Senua is walking towards something. Like that's all you're doing is just walking forward. And it's like kind of like you're walking towards certain death is what's going on at that moment. And all the voices in her head are like, oh, she's doing it. Oh, she's going to die. Wait, what happens to her when she dies? What happens to us when she dies? Does that mean we all die? Oh no, I don't want to die. I don't want to die either. And like then all the voices are like telling her like, no, stop, go back, don't go that way. We don't want to die. And I just thought, dude, this is awesome. Like that was just so cool.
Yeah, it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah. So
I
that's
don't know. There's not much that can be said about it, right?
yeah. I mean, it's something like I don't like siding with those headphone purists out there, but I mean, if you're gonna play this game, you gotta get the headphones on, and you gotta focus on it because it is a complete treat when you do.
Right.
Anyway, moving on. Favorite boss battle, Noah.
Well, you took the best one, so I'll go with the second best one. Oh gosh, who's the other god?
Valravn.
Valravn. I forgot. Yeah, Valravn. It was actually to me easier than the Surtur fight, and that is why I think it is better. Also, it was a figure that I didn't have previous knowledge about, and I love to learn about gods I didn't know about in mythology and hear their stories.
Yeah, he's
That's the
like a.
best part, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never hear all the stories.
Yeah. I actually like the Cert fight more because it was easier than the Valravn fight. The Valravn fight has heavy influence by like the darkness, and there are points where like you're in darkness and you have to listen for him attacking you, and he kind of like jumps out from the darkness to attack you, requires a lot of parrying. Like you have to parry his attack to get him like to kind of like get him stopped in his tracks so you can hit him. And I struggled with the parrying. I really, really struggled with this boss fight because of that, because parrying is such a huge aspect of it. Whereas against Cert, first off, there's the whole fire giant aspect that comes against you. He like will sometimes go on fire and you can't touch him because he's on fire. Really cool fight. And again, it doesn't require parrying as much, like especially because he's just a big dude and he's slow moving. A lot of dodging works easily against him, and yeah, that was just where I really enjoyed that fight more. All right.
I get you.
Yeah.
Sometimes parrying is better, sometimes dodging is better.
Mm-hmm. Anything you liked we didn't really talk about?
No, I do have something for what we didn't like about
Yeah.
the game, though.
What we didn't like about the game.
So very minor. The things I didn't really like about this game is that combat was very limited and just the length, it was a little short.
Mm.
And I'm hoping the sequel is a little bit longer.
I absolutely imagine it is. I agree with you that the combat is very basic. I didn't have a problem with that because, again, I was playing this after Death Stranding, so I really just wanted something basic that I didn't have to think a lot about, which is what Hellblade was. Like the difficulty I had parrying obviously didn't help, but it is very basic, like you said. I mean, you have a light, a heavy attack, you have your kick, which is basically just your block breaking attack, and then counter and dodge. That's about as simple a combat system as you can get. And I didn't mind it. I can't really agree with you on the length. I honestly, I felt a bit, despite how short it is, that it was kind of dragging a bit. Like there were certain things about it that I felt were like certain parts, certain sections, of your puzzles and stuff, of like specifically the challenges to get the shards of Grommer. There were a couple of those that I felt were just a bit too long. But I mean, not like, insanely too long. Like, oh, the game should be way shorter. But there were some that I was like, I just kind of wish this was over already. And yeah, I mean, that's it. There were just some parts that I felt were a bit too long.
It's odd, but I'll take it.
And then replayability, it's a beat and delete.
That is true.
Yeah, like I thought it was cool, but I feel like it's one of those it's one of those things that like I can only experience it for the first time once, and like I just feel like it wouldn't be as good a second playthrough, especially with how big the story is. Like I would maybe watch someone watch maybe like cutscenes, watch someone else play through it just to get that experience of the story. But then again, I'd be losing stuff because I wouldn't have the coolness of the headphones and the furies in my head. So yeah, I think this one is a beat and delete. Final thoughts, Noah?
My final thoughts are Hellblade stands as an excellent example that it doesn't take a ridiculous amount of resources to make a great video game, and something that's truly unique and sends a message at the same time. I think it checks all the boxes except for great gameplay. I mean, fantastic. Like I said, it's not awful. It's just a little limited. Other than that, I truly think anybody should at least play the first one. And I believe without a doubt, you'll more than likely be interested in the sequel, just as Jade and I have been.
Yeah, it's just a great game all around. I would recommend it to anybody who wants to play an awesome narrative-driven experience. Anyway, that's Hellblade. So yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll move on to the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Yay!
So today we're talking about Hotline Miami. So basically, Hotline Miami, you play as it takes place in the 80s. You play as a guy who basically is like a hitman for some mysterious people, and you get a call, you go to an address, you kill everybody, you put on an animal mask, that's a big thing, and you go kill everybody there. The game is a like 8-bit top-down game where you see kind of like the different rooms of the house, your character, all the other enemies. You pick up any kind of weapon you can find, and you kill everybody. You clear a room, that's a checkpoint. Clear the house, level's done. You move on. Noah, did you like Hotline Miami?
Yes, I did. We played Hotline Miami quite a long time ago, right? And I don't know if back then we were still actually playing games together or we played them separately. Do you know?
I think we took turns on Hotline Miami.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Wait, did you already talk about the gameplay and everything?
Yeah, like top down and everything. Yeah.
Right, right, okay. So it's like level based, and that makes it really easy to just take turns, which is what we did when we shared a console. And this game, it was really talked about because of its content being graphic, right? And it was kind of controversial at some points, but to me, the game, it's 8-bit, it can only really be so graphic no matter what is actually happening in the game. But to me, the aspect that made this game so phenomenal was the fast-paced, I'll call it like weapon combat basically, where you run into rooms, pick up items, or take out people and take their items, and then you can either use those items or throw them across the room until they get stopped by something or hit an enemy. And the drawback is enemies kill you pretty instantly, and the game is all extremely fast-paced. And it made combat in this game very difficult for me to wrap my head around. And I think you actually enjoyed this game a little bit more than I did because of that, because you played a lot and you got really good at it, right?
Yes, I did. I got the platinum trophy. It's one of my earliest platinum trophies.
Isn't it safe to assume, for the sake of our viewers, that any game we talk about, you already have the platinum trophy for?
I don't know. This was number 10.
Oh, wow.
This was number 10. Yeah, no, I absolutely love Hotline Miami. I love the gameplay. It's very hard. It is a hard game. It's a lot of trial and error. And then because enemy patterns aren't always 100% the same, which I feel like is not on purpose, but whatever. It's a lot of finding the best method that works and then trying it until it works. And I mean, yeah, it's just really fun. I did get the platinum; it was very hard to do. And one thing really, the thing that makes this one of my favorite games of all time, in addition to the gameplay and the story actually being very, what's the word, like low key, very intricate, very like conspiracy kind of laden. Very cool. Like the story is actually like really intricate, really cool. Gameplay is awesome, and then the music of this game is so damn good.
Oh yeah, it's something we only mention when it's spectacular in a game, right? But Hotline Miami's music, it's kind of like 80s techno kind of
Like,
vibe is what I
yeah.
feel like they go for, but I just love it.
Yeah, I mean, I have like songs from this game on my like playlists and shit. Like I loved the music of this game, and it's stuff that you'll hear a lot of because you'll be playing these levels for a long time trying to figure things out, and it never gets old. And I just love it.
Right. Anything else
Mhm.
about Hotline
Um,
Miami?
no, I'd say that's it. It's just a lot of fun.
It was definitely more fun when you unlock masks and get like different abilities and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
I guess we could mention that. The different masks give you different abilities. A lot of really cool ones. Really cool abilities to kind of mess around with it. Some certainly make the game easier and some make it harder.
Indeed. All right, so do you want to know what the next game is for the indie bit?
Well, the way you're setting this up makes me think I don't want to know what the next game is.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to set it up that way. But it is still out of left field.
Okay. What is the
Okay.
next game, Noah?
The next game is Guacamelee.
Oh no,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, we actually have to finish it this time.
Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition?
Yes, sir.
That is interesting.
Isn't that interesting? It's a throwback.
That is a throwback for us, certainly. We'll talk about that next episode.
Yeah, we can I just
Yeah.
thought it would be fun,
Uh,
to
okay.
talk about at least.
I gotcha. I gotcha, man. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I will definitely get it and play it. So don't forget, new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show or tell us if you don't and tell us why. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. And you can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on anything we do. And you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros, one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, where we upload videos every Friday and potentially more if there's ever anything newsworthy we feel like sharing. And yeah, we'll see you guys next game.
Bye.